Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
There is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the Infowar.
Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakar Jackson. It's October 1st, 2014, and here are our top stories.
Tonight, Patient Zero in the Pentagon's Ebola vaccine. Will the arrival of Ebola in America result in mass vaccinations? Plus, as the first American case of Ebola arrives in Dallas, concerns over wide-open U.S. borders are validated. All that plus much more up next on the Infowars Nightly News.
In case you haven't heard, there is an international news story about a patient coming from Liberia carrying Ebola. This patient is now in Dallas, Texas. What started is this past month, a gentleman boarded a plane from Liberia, and we did some checking. We couldn't find any direct flights from Liberia to Dallas, Texas, which leads us to believe this gentleman stopped at least one place. He may not have gotten off a plane, but he at least stopped someplace and encountered some fresh passengers. But the CDC is telling us that the gentleman cannot possibly transmit the virus if he is feeling well, which he was at the time. So the story goes, the man came here, he interacted with some friends and family, some school children, which my understanding is these children have now returned to their school systems. The gentleman goes to the doctor a couple days after falling ill. They give him antibiotics and send him on his way, even though Governor Rick Perry of Texas is telling us that the hospitals here in Texas are well versed in dealing with Ebola. And I understand Ebola isn't something they deal with every day, but they have an infected person come in from Liberia and send him on his way. But they say that the gentleman volunteered the information that he was from Liberia, but nobody thought it was a big deal at the time. The man goes back home, maybe he goes to a restaurant, maybe he goes to the grocery store, to the pharmacy to get some additional medication, who knows. And then he becomes more ill, goes back to the hospital, then it's announced that he does in fact have Ebola. So what's next? Well, we have a theory or two. Patient Zero in the Pentagon's Ebola vaccine. Last week, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel told the Global Health Security Agenda Summit that the Pentagon had a long-standing research program on infectious disease, including Ebola. Hagel said the Defense Department will now begin clinical trials for a vaccine candidate. And just in case you're wondering about the price tag, it is $140 million with Techmira Pharmaceuticals, a Canadian company. The Pentagon is very concerned about this, as they should be, because we see Europe and other parts of the world putting travel sanctions on parts of West Africa. So today at the press conference with Governor Rick Perry, Infowars reporter Joe Biggs asked flat out, are you going to demand, Governor Rick Perry, that Obama put travel sanctions on West Africa?
Why haven't the flights from West Africa been stopped from coming into America like Europe and France have done?
That's a question that's really not in my domain. We did not discuss that specific question. What we did talk about was that the CDC has the largest stand-up outside of the United States in their history. I think some 130 CDC personnel that are in Africa now. Yeah, obviously we have a very large contingent of our military there. And again, I think this goes to the heart of finding the solution to this issue, both globally and for the United States, is for our participation in that, and the United States engagement in that, and for us to assist those countries in Africa.
And be sure to stay tuned, because after this break, we'll have a special report from Joe Biggs detailing in more depth what happened at that press conference here today. Ebola case in Texas validates concerns over open border. Now, of course, we know the gentleman affected with the Ebola came on a plane, but what happens when you have a wide open border like we do here in the United States of America? As the first American case of Ebola was confirmed in Dallas yesterday, some laid blame on the Obama administration's lax immigration policies for the ease at which the illness penetrated the nation's borders. And if you go to Infowars.com, there are several tweets by concerned citizens voicing their concern about this very hard to treat illness. So yes, that is a very good point that you make, because we talk to the ICE agents, the Border Patrol agents on the border of the United States of America. They said, hey, man, we're so busy changing diapers and heating up bottles, we can't go out there and deal with these situations. And even if we do find sick people, we really don't have the facilities or the expertise to deal with it. So it is a very pressing concern. And it's not just on the borders, but yeah, what happens when somebody gets on a plane? The TSA isn't going to stop these guys. The TSA doesn't know what they're doing to begin with anyway, but what if a sick person comes along? How do they deal with that? And we have this, there's really no way to screen for Ebola at airports, which is very much true. Really, the only thing they do is they take a temperature read of your forehead, and that's about it. If you have a high temperature, they may ask you to step over here in this room and let's run a test or two or whatever their policy is. But they really don't have a way to deal with this. It's very concerning, and we need to figure out a way to deal with this before it's too late.
In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life.